So our next micro lesson is number 2, the prepositions. So the prepositions, as you know, are supine, prone, sitting and standing. So it's very helpful to teach how to move between the different types of prepositions. It will help to create more discipline in the class. It will also help your students to be controlling their body in a better way, and it can also help to prevent injuries. So in your micro lesson, you're going to be teaching how to move from one preposition to another and then coming back. Now, many people say, oh, do I need to teach this small thing? Well, it's actually really helpful technique to teach into your class because, as I said, it does help to create that discipline in the class so everyone is coming out of things in the same way, moving into the next prepositions in the same way. And it's also a really good practice for new teachers just to learn how to move from a preposition to another, learning how to say, okay, bend this leg, straighten your back, all the different movements that are necessary. So it's very helpful for that too. So let's begin by talking on the introduction. So your introduction to your preposition. So you're going to say which preposition you're going to be doing and how you're going to move to it. So first, seeing how you're going to explain the first preposition that you've chosen for your micro lesson. So for example, if I've chosen from supine position, so I'll explain how that preposition is. And then after that, I'll explain how I would move into the next preposition. Now, it's best to do this very briefly because if you put in a lot of detail, it can be quite confusing because they haven't seen that demonstration yet. Here you'll see on the screen, explain the stages with or without counts. Generally, we don't need to use counts to move into these positions because it's always nicer if you can give the description and it's easier for students to understand as well, but some people might prefer to use the counts. You're also going to be explaining the other preposition. So, for example, if I'm moving from supine to prone, I'll explain the prone position once it's been moved into, and then I'll explain how to move back to supine. As I said, this is just going to be brief because after this you're going to be doing a demonstration. So the demonstration, you're going to explain in quite a bit more detail about how the preposition is, the first one, then all of the description of how to move into it, so giving a description and also demonstration at the same time. So how to come all the way to that other preposition, explaining that second preposition, and then explaining and demonstrating how to come back. Now, you can do it one time if you find it simple enough, or if you think it's a little bit confusing, then you might decide to do a second demonstration. Example, if you're just going from sitting position to supine, there's only 2 steps in that, so you don't really need to do 2 demonstrations for that, but if you're moving from supine to prone, there's quite a lot of steps involved there. So you can go by your judgment as per how many demonstrations are necessary. If you are doing a second demonstration, it is helpful to do it from a different angle so everyone can understand it. After that, you're going to be getting your students to practice. And as you'll see by the video in a moment, I haven't done the practice with them because it's really helpful when you're training to be a teacher to be able to instruct your students to practice without doing it yourself. If you're always doing everything with them, then many times you don't learn those skills to be able to instruct without doing it yourself, which can make it very difficult if you need to go and correct people, or if it's not possible for you to do those positions at that time. So it's a really important skill to develop, that you'll be able to instruct without doing it yourself. And it's much harder. It's very easy if you're doing something yourself to tell everyone else to do it. It's easy. But we want you to be able to instruct without having to practice. So you're going to get your students to practice moving between the 2 prepositions and back. Make sure that when you are giving those instructions, it's nice and slow, comfortable, rhythmic, and also making sure that if anyone is making any kind of mistakes, that you try to correct them. So that's your prepositions micro lesson. Looking at the checklist for the microlist number 2, prepositions, so the first point you want to make sure you're covering is just the introduction. So the introduction is where you're creating the interest for your students. So you're going to just talk about the preposition that you're starting from and then moving to another preposition. So just very briefly, that introduction, and then moving into that explanation. And again, you want that to be a brief explanation because they haven't seen the demonstration yet. So just a short one there, followed by the demonstration. Now you're going to demonstrate 1 or 2 times, depending on how difficult it is. So for example, if you're doing from sitting preposition to supine preposition, we know it's very simple. There's only a couple of movements to get into that. But if you're going to move from standing to prone, then it's going to be a little bit more difficult. So it can be helpful to have 2 demonstrations there. Then you're going to get the students to be practicing. So again, 2 times practicing, giving any corrections that are necessary. And then also the point about your voice. So you want to make sure that your voice is going to be smooth, it's going to be clear, and it's going to be confident. So those are the points that we want to check for the micro lesson number 2. And now we'll see an example of how to conduct it. Carry on. So today we're going to learn about prepositions and moving from one preposition to the next preposition. Now it's really important to learn how to move between the 2 because it will help to create a little bit more control in your body and also deepen your awareness of your body. So what we're going to be doing today is moving from standing position to supine position. So what's going to happen, just briefly, is I'm going to be bending my knees, extending one leg, then the other leg, and lowering my bottom onto the mat. That'll be the sitting position. From here, I'm going to put the pressure onto one elbow as I lower my elbow down to the floor, then the other elbow. So my body is resting on my elbows and then lowering my spine all the way down to supine position. Then to come back, I'm going to come onto my elbows, then coming up to sitting position, bending one knee towards me, the other knee towards me, and then coming up onto my toes. With my knees still bent, slowly extending my legs and coming back to standing. So to make that a little bit clearer, I'm going to demonstrate it for you. But before I move to the side, I'm just going to show you the standing position. So here my feet are together, my spine is upright, my shoulders are relaxed, my head is up, my chest is open, and my arms are relaxed by my side. So this is the standing position. So now I'll show you how to move to the supine position. So from the standing position, I'm looking forward. I'm very gently going to be bending my knees, lifting my heels, and slowly lowering my fingertips onto the ground. From here, extending one leg in front, bringing my hands back, extending my other leg in front, and lowering my bottom to the ground. So this is the sitting position. Here my arms may be bent, or I might have my arms straight. My hands may be on the ground, or I might have my fingertips. That will depend on the length of your arm compared to your torso. My spine is upright here. Now I'm going to move to the supine position. So very gently lowering one elbow to the ground, then the other elbow, and then lowering my head down and my spine down. So this is the supine position. My body is in a straight line. My hands are facing down and looking upwards. Now to come back, slowly I'm going to put pressure onto my elbow and my other elbow. From here, putting pressure onto my hands and lifting up using my core to come up into the sitting position. From here, we're going to come up to standing position. So bending one knee, bringing your foot close to you. Using your fingertips, lift your bottom up and bringing your other foot close. The knees are bent. From here, we're slowly going to be standing. Bring your heels onto the ground, looking forward. Your body's in a straight line. Your chest is open. Your shoulders relaxed. So this is how we move from the standing position to supine and then coming back. Now, all of you will practice it. So coming into your standing position, have your feet together, your hands down by the side, and your shoulders are relaxed, your chest is open, and your head is upright. Just take a breath in and out. And we're going to move into that supine position. So very gently you can start bending your knees, lifting your heels, and slowly bringing your fingertips onto the ground. From there, you're going to extend one leg, then the other leg, and lowering your bottom to the mat. So you've moved into the sitting position. So here your legs are straight, your spine is upright, your hands may be resting on the floor, or you might have your fingertips, depending on the length of your arms, as I mentioned. From here, you're going to move into supine position. So gently lower down onto one elbow, then the other elbow. Now slowly lowering your spine all the way down so your head is resting on the mat. Bring your arms next to each other, palms facing down, looking upwards, and your neck is straight. This is the supine position. Now we're going to be moving back. So from here, digging your elbows onto the mat and your other elbow onto the mat so that you can lift your body up, placing your hands, pressing onto your hands, coming up into sitting position. So your legs are straight, your spine is upright. From sitting position, you want to be bending one knee, bringing your foot close, and then the other leg, bringing your other foot close, lifting up onto your toes, fingertips are there as a support by either side, slowly extending. So coming up to standing position, bring your feet next to each other, your shoulders are relaxed, your chest is open, your head is upright. Take a deep breath in and out. And there you go. You've moved from standing to supine and back. Hurry on.